Okay, I'm just jumping on here, getting caught up on some tutorials that are coming up later in the month. So I'm working on this Tahoe scene, calling it Tahoe Lovebirds. So I'm going to paint this. I'm going to change it up just a little bit too. So this is an old one, and it just needs a little love. So I'm painting on a rectangle watercolor paper. This would be done on a 12 by 16, 11 by 14, a rectangle canvas. Same brushes that we always use: big flat, medium flat, or filbert, and round. And I've got black, white, red, warm yellow, cobalt blue, a little bit of the phthalo green, and I'll see if I need any of the dark blue as I get on into the painting. I probably will. So, all right. I'm going to start right here in our horizon line. We're going to give the water a little bit more room, so the sky will be a little bit, take up less of the canvas. I'm going to make a very, very pale yellow, mostly white, a little bit of yellow, and I'm just going to carve in that horizon line with the edge of my brush. And I want this to kind of be choppy, strokey. It doesn't have to be. If people want to do it smooth, they absolutely can. Place a little bit of that in there. And then I'm going to go just a bit more warm. So I'm going to add more yellow. Kind of blending that down into the pale yellow below it. I have a feeling I went a little bit too crazy with my warmer yellow, so I'll come back in here in a little bit and brighten it up. Okay, so now we're going to get on into those nice pinky orange shades. So I'm just taking some of my red and introducing it into my yellow and white mixture here. And it's a little orange looking. I'm just going to add a little bit more red. There we go. I want it to look a little bit more pink. I'm just going to start up here high, top, and then I'll start swooshing it down to that yellow. Once I get those down to where they're meeting, I'm going to rinse out my brush. And they can use either just a damp brush, or they might have to bring in a little bit more of that yellow mixture just to break up that hard line. Like I said, I'm working on this paper, and paint dries so fast on this that it's really hard getting good blends when you're working with acrylic on it. So probably won't be quite as difficult on a canvas. So I'm gonna have to work my colors kind of back and forth to get it to soften up. But we're going for a nice and soft look. And I'm just gonna, like I said, I kind of feel like my warm yellows sort of took over, so I'm just gonna add a nice bright yellow right down here, so I can see that kind of peeking over those mountains. It's a little better. All right, so now I'm going to get into the water. And what I'm first going to do is I'm going to come in with some white. Just going to use white. And I gotta work sort of quick on this part because we don't want this white to dry. Okay, so as soon as I have that white in there, I'm gonna make a pretty turquoise color. I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it. And I'm going to start right down here at the bottom. And I'm going to work it up until it starts disappearing, kind of blending in, nice and soft, about halfway. I'll kind of get that ripply look on the water. It's nice and soft. Just a brush with just some water too will help soften. Okay, so once I get the blue, the teal color in there, then I'm just going to come in and kind of deepen up that color just a little bit. Start back down at the bottom. Just really want to brighten this up down here towards the bottom of the canvas. Yeah, I think this is where I use the dark blue. So I'm going to add just a little bit of dark blue in here. All right. Okay. I am going to do, we're going to have a little bit of purple down here underneath those mountains. So I'm just going to come back in. I got a clean brush. I'm going to apply a little bit more white. And that white can come on down. It can blend down into those turquoises. Maybe if they went a little bit crazy with their turquoise, they might want to use a little bit of that white to blend it in a little bit. But I'm going to add the white first, and then I'm going to make just a nice light purple. So I used my cobalt, a little bit of blue, some red, and some white. And I'm going to come right underneath that sky. And I'm just sort of pulling it in, little streakies. It kind of comes down and meets that turquoise. Like so. The white, putting down the white first really helps keep this nice and soft. And then it would be break time. So give them a nice break. I'm already dry. So I'm going to go ahead and start on my mountains. And my mountains are going to be like a couple shades darker than our purple that we put down. So I'm just going to blend up a little bit more of my purple. Has a little white in it. And we want these mountains to look like they're far away. They're way across the lake, so they're not going to look massive. So what I usually do when I want people to keep their mountains kind of small is I have them come in and do a nice, big, heavy, thick line. Like the width of that filbert or flat brush. And then all they have to do is just come just right up here at the top and just bring out some very, like just little rolling peaks. I'm going to take a little bit of that color, that darker color, and lighten it up just a tad. And with that smaller brush, I'm just going to come into this purple on the lake and just add a few darker little streaks, just adding some of those shadows from the mountains in there. In the original painting, we put purple up in the sky. That didn't turn out so well. That was always kind of a mess. So I'm leaving that out. And yeah, I think it's not necessary. Okay. So now we're going to use, I would have them probably use chalk. We're going to put in the front forward hill here that's forming that bay. Okay, so use that chalk. I'm going to start just right up here in my mountains, and I'm going to bring it down, not too far. And I know, like, you can't really see the chalk when you get down in here. I don't know, maybe you don't even use the chalk. Maybe you use like a light blue. You could use a colored chalk. But I'm just going to bring it down about right there. And then that little jetty or whatever comes out. Okay. And then we just pull it back in and kind of curve it down. Okay, and then we've got another piece of land we're looking at right down over here. So for the actual mountain, I'm going to use some of that dark blue and just a little bit of black and just a touch of white. We want it kind of cloudy, a cloudy navy blue. And I've got this land over here. And this is just a little bit darker. All right. I'm going to take that darker color as well and kind of run it down here towards the bottom of my mountain where it's going to be more shadowy. Okay, and then I'm going to create that shadow. There's a shadow being cast in the water. So I'm making the turquoise with the cobalt and the green. And then I'm adding a little bit of that dark blue. And then I'm going to give it just a tiny touch of white. And I'm going to be running my strokes back and forth. Just pulling out. can bring a few other darker shades down into the water. All right, and then I'm going to deepen up that color with more blue, more dark blue. I'm up close to the land, just going to deepen that up. I might use a little bit of that like mountain color. It's a little bit of the black in it. Okay, and then I'm going to use that same mountain color. And I'm going to pull some trees up. So I like to use the filbert first. And I like to use the full wide edge of that brush first to create like a heaviness. Just little short strokes up. Like so. Just going to add a little bit more paint in here so you can see the canvas through my paint. Okay, but I like to use that brush first, and then I switch over to my little round and I bring out some of those little tree tops. Like so. All right, so I'm gonna let those dry. And then we're going to do a nice big tall tree or two down here. So that's going to be that dark, dark color. All right, so I'm going to do a big tree right here. Put in a few of those guidelines. And I'll do a couple of tinier trees, like they're growing up from the side of the hill. We're seeing the tips of them peeking over. Stay in the guidelines. I want everybody to really work on your trees. I want to see some good trees. Not just yours, but in your classes too. Sometimes you need to walk around and help. Do a demo for them. Bring up an extra canvas from downstairs. Let them play on a gessoed canvas. It's not just about us being able to do it. It's about them being able to do it too. And I like to switch over to that little brush and just finish off the tip of my tree. So on the other painting, we have like Emerald Bay laying in here, and I don't know, they just haven't turned out very good in the past. So I'm leaving that out, and we're going to work on our little lovebirds up in the sky. So this is where you'll need the chalk for sure. So we're just going to draw a heart. And we're going to take that little brush and we're going to do some little birds in the sky. So I'm just going to use that same dark color. And for these birds, to make them look like they are mid-flight and they're not just, it's not like just the V shape, you know? You can make them actually look like they're flying. It's not wet. Good job, Elisa. Couple different shapes that we can do. So we can do, well, of course, there's just the standard V, right? You could do, like, make a little dot and make it look like the wings are down, they're not up. So you would just pull those wings down, just kind of opposite. I sort of make a little dot there in the center so it looks like it's the body. To make them look like we're catching them at a different angle, you can make a little tiny mark, like so. I'll make this a little bigger. A little tiny mark, and then pull the wings out like so. So it looks like you're seeing its body, like from the side. So they can use those little different shapes to put in the birds flying up here. I'm working on tinier little surface. I'm going to try to make it work. I'm just going to follow that heart. All right, so that's our lovebirds in the sky. At this point, that's pretty much the painting. If they want to like touch up mountains or, you know, add a little second coat here and there, that's where they would be doing that. But it honestly is like a really super simple painting. They learn some cool blending using the white down in the water, and it gives them plenty of time to play with those techniques. But yeah, that's pretty much the painting. So, all right, I'm checking out of here.